This week on Supercars Torque, the battle between Brodie and Shane for the championship is on. The big news this week is that Porsche Carrera Cup have announced their calendar for 2024. No, I'll put the calendar up there. It's very similar to the Super 2 calendar, as you can see from the graphic. Anyway, the big news this week, forward and middies have been confirmed at Brad Jones Racing for multiple years. Not a big surprise, this one. Bryce has really done... He's really stepped up this year, as I've said to quite a few people. If you excuse the Walkinshaw thing and looked at last year as a rookie year, and then this year him really stepping up, he's done quite a good job. Obviously not matching Andre, but definitely putting himself there as the second best in BJR. Top 10 in the championship at the moment, just looking really strong. Hopefully that will continue into the future. It did take him 4 seasons to win the Super 2 championship, and now he's in his 4th season of Supercars and he's looking quite competitive. So that's a good one for the future. In other news, it looks like Cooper Murray could be the winner of the annual merry-go-round of who has the biggest budget to partner with Craig Lowndes in the endurance races. He's firming up as the favourite for that wild card in the super cheap auto car with Craig Lowndes that had already been confirmed for next year. It's looking like he will get to do a solo main game round, much like Zane Goddard did this year. The big question mark then is, where does Zane Goddard go? He did a competent job this year, nothing outstanding, but not too bad. Did kind of redeem himself a bit after the disaster that was Bathurst last year. So he's probably earned enough to find himself a seat somewhere. Superglass have announced that they will be continuing with Matt Stone Racing for 2 more years. They'll be on the bonnet and the rear quarter panel of the car on both of those, and there will be a live pit lane order next year. So currently the pit lane order is set off the team's championship from the previous year. So typically Triple Eight gets to go first, and then down the line to Blanchard's being last. Now, they've looked at that and gone, oh, it's kind of unfair because someone, say like Brad Jones Racing or Erebus, who have done exceptionally well this year, are then still stuck kind of in that midfield position. But then also they've done such a good job this year, and then they don't get to reap the rewards from it for next year. So whether this makes a big change to the racing or not, well, but it is something that, other teams like Triple Eight have flagged that, it could be a disaster because people get used to where their pit position is. Well, it would change year to year. So, it's not going to be a big thing to work out where you are each weekend and where you need to stop. Look for the guys that are in your team colours. A big piece of news did come out this week as well. Adrian Burgess is going to be leaving Supercars at the end of the year after the wind tunnel testing happens in the USA. So I can only imagine when a Camaro goes out and wins the first round next year, that obviously Burgess being still involved, that means he's biased for GM, and that's why it's still GM biased. And it's a job I wouldn't want. It's a hard position because no matter what you do, you're not going to win. You're answering to people who are probably making decisions that probably shouldn't be making decisions. It's a real tough one, that. But yeah, I'm not surprised that he's wanting to move on. Will everything magically now be better? Of course not. Will it be better in the future? Well, there is a possibility, but this is something that will take time. Whoever takes on that role in the future, I have heard it may be split between 2 people, but whoever takes that role on, it will take time to filter through. And if the wind tunnel testing does sort everything out over Christmas, well, that was all done under Burgess watch. It won't be the answer of whoever's taking on that role in the future. And the final thing to cover off this week is the Speed Series, where everyone's favourite TCR Racing happens. They have split from their Stan and Channel 9 TV deal. It looks like they will be going to 7 Mate for next year, or a Channel 7 thing, which ultimately will probably be on 7 Mate. In a way, this is good for the series because it will be on free-to-air, and if you read the Bookface comments after every round of the Supercars, or even before, a lot of people are unhappy that they cannot watch the racing on free-to-air, so this will be an option on free-to-air. I was very surprised when they announced that they would be doing this deal. Obviously, I subscribe to Stan over the period of the IndyCar series because I'm very invested in that series and I want to watch all of the racing, so I will subscribe to Stan. TCR though, I wouldn't be paying for that specifically. So if you weren't, say, a World Endurance fan or IndyCar fan, Stan is a big commitment just for TCR, whereas if you were on, say, the Foxtel KO kind of platform, at least people generally are buying that for Formula 1, Supercars. I think MotoGP's even on there as well, so you're getting quite good value for money on that. The Stan deal seemed like a very odd one to me, but they did it, they cashed in, they lost a lot of viewership, I suppose. They're going to blame it on the TV deal, not the product. I haven't actually watched any TCR racing this year, so I can't quite comment on how good or bad it was. I have watched it in the past, and yep, we'll leave it at that. But moving forward, at least there will be the option to watch that on free-to-air, which should start building a little bit more momentum for the competitors again, because it would have been very hard to go and get sponsorship and then essentially say, we've got 4,000 people turning up at the track and probably 2,000 people watching it on TV. That would be very hard to sell a sponsorship package to. Anyway, there is racing this weekend. So kicking it off, Rylan Gray will be making his debut in Super 3 in a Tickford Falcon. The first time there'll be a Falcon out in the Super 2, Super 3 field this year, which seems very, very strange. Looks really cool, this car. It's quite kind of plain, a lot of white space on it, but it does look really cool. One can only assume this is a teaser into him taking on a full campaign next year, but you need to be at least 17 years old to take part in any of the Supercars categories, and he is turning 17, what is it, like 2 days before Adelaide kicks off, so he's just making it there. He's been in Toyota 86s this year, and I think he's taken a win or two in the category this year as well. So this will also be Tim Edwards' last meeting with the team, and they're going to be running 7 cars. So they've bitten off a lot for that final weekend. Anyway, the Super 3 Championship, that's Job Stewart is fairly comfortable on that one, so not much to cover off there. Super 2, though, is down to the wire between Zach Best and Kai Allen. 30 points between the two of them, so, it could really go either way there. I'm extremely surprised at how well Kai has done this year, and will Zach Best be the bridesmaid again, the poor guy? Ryan Wood and Cooper Murray are in the battle for 3rd and 4th position as well in that one. But on to the main game. The battle is between Brodie and Shane. What is it? 131 points between the two of them. As long as Brodie finishes both days, he's probably pretty much settled into the championship. But this is Adelaide, anything could happen. If he has a DNF on Saturday, Shane could well go and win the thing and have a 19-point lead going into Sunday, which is, just throws everything on its head. So, yeah, it's looking like Brodie's to win, but you can't yeah, you can't count your chickens until they cross the line on Sunday, unless, you know, Shane has a bit of an ordinary run on Saturday and Brodie is, you know, it's like 5 positions in front or something like that is the actual, there's just too many combinations to kind of go through, and, you know, sometimes it's quite easy and go like, right, Shane has to go and win both races and Brodie has to DNF out of both of them. There is so many combinations this week that, yeah, but my tip is that Brodie is going to take it out. He'll probably go, Brodie doesn't go conservative, but he'll be a little bit conservative and try and wrap it up rather than, you know, just go out for the wins and risk everything. The battle for 3rd and 4th as well is very close. Feeney and Will Brown are only 9 points apart, and that will then determine who takes out the team's championship. Erebus having a slight lead in that one at the moment. Chaz fairly safe in 5th position there. There's he has an outside chance he could finish 3rd, but that's a very big outside chance. I'd say, you know, he's fairly settled there in 5th. Over the weekend, we have 1 practice session on Thursday afternoon, then they have 1 practice session around lunchtime on Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday, the same format, 15-minute qualifying session, top 10 shootout, and then 78-lap 250-kilometre races. My prediction for the weekend, though, is that the victory will be between Reynolds, Mostert and Waters. I think the Ford guys are going to come out all guns blazing like they did in the Gold Coast streets, and that, you know, Brodie and Shane will be a little bit on the not nervous side, but they'll just let the fight get a little bit to them. They'll be in the top 10 somewhere, but they aren't going to be out there dominating the races like what we're quite used to. But yeah, down in the comments, let me know what your predictions are for the weekend. Who do you think is going to take out the race win? And is it Brodie or Shane for the championship? So before I sign off this week, just a little bit of channel news I want to cover off. So my trusty work lights that I'd been using to, you know, light myself up for, I'd had these lights well before I even started the channel. They were a set of work lights from Bunnings. They were, a lot of people had said about refresh rates on camera and thing. There was flickering from the lights. You could not see it to the naked eye. It was only when you ended up editing these videos that you saw that the flickering was happening. I thought I'd traced it to a dodgy power board where I was plugging them into, but it turns out that then after a couple of times, the flickering came back. It was an issue with the lights. Couldn't pick it with the naked eye. It was just, you start editing the videos and you see the flickering. Few people had offered solutions, but unfortunately, my trusty lights were on the way out. I have purchased some more dedicated lights for today. Hopefully it's looking a bit better. And I got myself a new tripod, so hopefully this position with the camera has worked out a little bit better. But yeah, I'm just trying to improve things as we go. Unfortunately, I've got a few die-cast model videos that I pre-recorded. Because of me opening them and unboxing and whatever, the flickering is a bit ordinary on the videos, but I don't want to re-record them because obviously I'm unboxing and I want my honest reaction when I pop them open. So those will be coming out over the coming weeks with a little bit of flickering in them, unfortunately. But yeah, I just, hopefully it's all fixed now because I've invested in some lights now that I'll be very disappointed if we still have the problem. But anyway, let me know down in the comments who you think is going to win this weekend. Finally got that final round happening. It's been a long wait. Anyway, until next time, I'm still Dave and I'll catch you later.